In your life, you deserve to be more, do more, have more, and give more. And now the Becoming More podcast with Dianna Kokoszka.
Welcome to Becoming More. Today I would like to speak with you a little bit about the thoughts that you have. See, everything in your life begins with a thought. You can't even construct a building without it first being alive in someone's mind. Everyone has a dream of some kind. And when they express that dream, that's when it actually starts to happen. It starts, though, in a thought. What thoughts are you having in your mind? You know, James Allen said, as a man thinketh, so is he. Of course, that is part of Proverbs as you think about that. Yet, are your thoughts literally liberating you? Do you believe that things aren't going my way, that can't be done, it's too hard, hard work's the only way I'm going to get ahead? All these types of thoughts do limit us. And then to have the liberating thoughts about intentions. Intentional living gets me ahead. Being intentional about how we think really does matter. See, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become reality. Earl Nightingale from The Strangest Secret said that. My mom and dad gave me that record back as my 9th grade graduation. And of course, back then, it was very interesting, and I listened to it over and over and over again. I eventually wore the record out. Yet, what are you putting in your mind? What thoughts do you have over and over and over again? As you listen to it, are you listening to things that are uplifting? Do you have positive thoughts in your mind, or are you dwelling on the negative, always complaining? See, I wrote some bold laws that said complaining equals garbage magnet. Well, that's exactly what happens. You keep complaining and you just find more to complain about. Now, I've got to tell you, I keep the album cover in my office. And recently I had another one that was given to me, the record and the cover. Both of them are right here to remind me that my thoughts really do matter. How many people actually believe in the idea that the way you think has some effect on your life, something to do with your reality? Well, your thoughts are helping to create that reality. I don't know if you woke up this morning and consciously thought about your day. I remember Terry Morler used to tell me in her book she would write, "Today is a great day. I am going to sell a home to Mr. and Mrs. whomever she had an appointment with." And she talked about how it was so much fun writing up the contract. She actually wrote it and thought about it happening before it actually happened. Every single day, she would put thoughts in her mind that set for a good day, a positive day. You know the biggest reason that people don't do that? Because we haven't trained our brain to do that. We haven't trained our brain before our feet hit the floor to think about something that we're grateful for. Maybe even think about 5 things you're grateful for. And as you get ready, think about the great day that you're going to have. Focus on the positive. See, maybe we don't do that because we don't believe it's true. We don't believe we're going to have a great day. And if at a gut level you truly believed that it was true, that your thoughts really do matter, wouldn't you get up every single day thinking the thoughts that you desire to have happen, knowing that your thoughts create your reality? Having an awareness about how thoughts do matter, and those thoughts are going to set the experience for your day. So see, if neuroscience tells us that we've got to organize our thoughts because the way we think matters, and nerve cells that fire together wire together, and nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together, well, they wire because of the thoughts that we continually have. Your brain is recording everything that is happening throughout the day. It records your environment. It records everything. Otherwise, you couldn't remember the past. And a lot of people, well, they wake up in the morning thinking about the past and they never get to a brighter future. See, when you ponder and you realize that your environment matters, yet your thoughts, your internal thoughts matter more than your environment, because then you realize you really can control your environment. Your brain loves simplicity. Your brain loves routines. That's why we get up every morning and we do the same thing every single day. I mean, we get up, and if you brush your teeth first, well, that's what you do every day. It's a routine, and your brain loves it. You drive to work the same day. You do everything exactly the same. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, you get up in the morning, put on your favorite slippers, you go to the restroom, you look in the mirror to remind yourself of who you are, you drink out of the same cup of coffee, you do the exact same things you always do that you've memorized so well, you drive to work the same way, you meet with the same people, you go to the same meetings, and doing those same things over and over again, you secretly go home wishing that something had changed. Well, it's not going to change because, see, you've done that same routine. It's actually noted that when you do things different every day, maybe taking a new way to work, it kind of slows down time. It makes it so it doesn't seem to be going so fast. See, we have emotional buttons in our brain that we are literally thinking and pushing every single day with those thoughts. It's like you have a thought and it goes right through your brain, pushes an emotional memory, and you start thinking the same way you've always thought. And when you go through things so fast during the day, do you even remember what happens? Have you ever driven home and you can't even remember how you drove? You just drove the same way so much that you were thinking of other things, lost in your thoughts? Well, when you think the same thoughts, you perform the same actions. And when you do that, you are creating the same experiences that produce the same emotions, and all the while secretly expecting something new to happen. It's not going to. You can't keep doing the same things over and over again and expect different results. Einstein said that was the basis of insanity, for heaven's sakes. Yet, when you have the same thoughts, you're going to do the same things. Well, when you think differently, then you'll do something different. And you can't get to better until you get to different. Your thinking is equal to everything that you already know. And as long as your thinking is equal to everything that's familiar to you and that you know so well, where you're going to keep creating the same life. Now, there's different research studies. Some show that you have 6,000 thoughts a day, and others show that you have 60,000 thoughts a day. And I don't care what the number is, it's a lot of thoughts. The problem is that 90 to 95% of those thoughts are the same ones that you had yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that, and the day before that, and nothing changes. Even worse, about 80 to 85% of those thoughts are all negative. And so that's why we complain. That's why we truly cannot change. Because you have to have thoughts greater than your current thinking to be greater than you are right now. In research, the psychologist Lee Van Gost has said virtually everything is important because of inner speech. And your inner speech starts at the age of 3. I don't know what your inner speech is, yet I'll bet it's either positive or negative. You're leaning towards one way or another. And when we have a dream in our mind, it begins with a thought. And as we think about that dream over and over and over again, we can create a vision in our mind. People like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, Mother Teresa, they all had thoughts. They all had visions. They had ideas. They couldn't see them. They couldn't touch them. They couldn't feel them. They couldn't smell them. Yet they knew that they were coming about. When Walt Disney thought about Disney World after he had created Disneyland, he had it in his mind. It was so alive in his mind that he actually could see it. And of course, Walt passed away before Disney World was completed. And when they had the ribbon cutting ceremony, there's a story that is told that when they looked at his wife, Lillian, the CEO at the time said to her, "Wow, I wish Walt could have been here to see this." And she said, "Oh, are you kidding? Walt saw it, or you and I wouldn't be here." See, you have to see it in your mind. You have to think it in your mind. Those thoughts will become reality. And they're actually happening right now. Every thought that you are having is helping to create your new future. So the question is, can you believe in a future that you can't see yet? Can you have thoughts that are so alive in your mind that you know they are going to come about? Or are you having limiting thoughts and keep saying those limiting thoughts to yourself over and over and over again? Can you vividly imagine something? Can you get those emotions, those emotional juices flowing throughout your body, knowing that it is going to come alive? That thought that you have can become reality. Now, see, here's an interesting program that we had. When I wrote a BOLD program for BOLD, is what it was called, Business Objective, A Life by Design. I wrote it while I was at Keller Williams Realty International. It was such a great time and so much fun. And in that program, I had the people write a letter to themselves. Now, the letter was dated a year from now. Only the letter was written like you had moved to the future. You had taken a time travel machine, and there you were in the future 1 year from today, and you were writing about how the last year had been so wonderful. And you put that letter with emotion, and there was a lady that actually talked about her daughter coming down a curved staircase in her prom dress, ready for the prom. Now, they didn't own a house with a curved staircase, yet she wrote out many things in this letter. And we'd had them seal it up, address it to themselves, and then we mailed it a year later. Now, that letter eventually got to her because, see, it was forwarded to her new address, an address that she hadn't put on that envelope because she wasn't living there at the time. Yet she opened up the letter, forgot that she had actually even written that letter, and as she read it, she couldn't wait to give me a call and let me know that the house that they lived in didn't have a curved staircase, yet the house that they had bought had one. She had watched her daughter come down that curved staircase in her prom dress, and many of the things in that letter had come to fruition. In fact, there were over 80,000 people that wrote me thank you notes and letters stating things like, "Wow, it changed my life." That letter, I got it back a year later, not remembering everything I had even written in that letter, and yet I couldn't believe how much had come true. So see, your thoughts with much emotion put into that subconscious mind of yours and then sealed up can come about. Why? Because you literally are creating your reality with your thoughts. You've taught your brain to look at things the way it looks at, to have the perception that it has. You've taught your brain how to think, and you can teach your brain a new way of thinking. It all begins with a thought. How are you thinking? Do you even think about how you think? Do you have thinking time in your schedule? When you have thinking time in your schedule, maybe even you sit in the same chair. When I was at John Maxwell's home, and he has a thinking chair that he sits in, and he literally uses that chair when he thinks. Now, I went in to study. This was many, many years ago. I sat in that thinking chair, and I thought I was smarter just by sitting in that chair, right? Well, do you have thinking time in your schedule? When is it? Is it the same time every day? Are you being intentional about thinking about how to improve things, how to innovate things, how to make them better. Because when we think about how to innovate, how to make things better, how to take care of our customers better, we call our customers. We can think about what we're going to say, when we're going to call them. We can take that thinking time and put it to good use by being intentional. Because how we think absolutely does matter. It's how we act, how we feel comes from how we think. And this present reality called our life is aided by the way that we think. It is made up by the way that we think. And I'm here to tell you the way you think really does matter. If we desire to create a new reality, then we have to change our thinking. And we can do that through thinking time every single day. Having at the same time, sitting in the same place, you can start to change your thoughts. Training your brain to a new way of thinking starts with changing our thoughts, which alters our behavior and our emotions. And most people desire a new reality with the same level of thinking that they currently have. They created that thinking. So think about creating a new way of thinking. If you've created the reality that you're currently in, then that automatically means you can create a new reality, because nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together. And when you have different thoughts, you have different ways of thinking. You have different ways of being. You have different perceptions. All of a sudden, you see the world a better way, a new way. And 90% of your thoughts being the same every day is what's causing the reality that you're living right now. And you know what? The people you're surrounding yourself with are helping those thoughts. That's how you form your personality, by your thoughts. Your friends are helping you form your personality. Your friends are helping you with your thoughts. In fact, you become like the 5 closest people you hang out with. Dr. Daniel Amen, he's a great doctor, and he has literally written many books. He has a thing called automatic negative thoughts that we have in our mind. He calls them ants, automatic negative thoughts, right? Some of them, you're thinking that it's all or nothing type thinking. He said that's an ant you've got to get rid of. Another one that he talks about is focusing on the negative. Well, so many people focus on the negative instead of the positive, and that's why they have ants. And here's what's interesting. You know, ants, they can crawl and get in everywhere. So even if you're around people with negative thoughts and negative speaking, those ants come crawling right into your head, for heaven's sakes, and now you start focusing on the negative. Some people, well, they have the ants of fortune telling. They believe that they know what's going to happen before it actually happens. They start thinking about all the negative things, all the risk, and they won't move forward. They have to stay in that comfort zone because they're a fortune teller, right? And then thinking with your feelings. That's pretty bad because, see, we have this mind and body connection. When you have insecure thoughts, you start feeling insecure. And when you feel insecure, well, guess what? You keep having more insecure thoughts. And it just keeps going round and round and round. Well, that's an ant. Stop thinking the way that you're feeling. The guilt. Oh, that's a big one. The guilt that people go through. Oh, my goodness. We allow people to give us guilt trips, yet we're the ones that choose to take them. Get out of that guilt. It is an ant that you don't want crawling right up in your head, right? Maybe you label yourself in some negative way. Labeling is a bad thing. You know, I had an opportunity to meet Oprah, her pictures right here behind me. I just loved it. It was so much fun to be able to speak with her. And I've got to tell you, one of the things that you may not know about her, did you know they wanted her to change her name to like Susie? Because they said nobody would ever remember Oprah. They were labeling her with a name that nobody would remember. Are you kidding me? The whole world knows Oprah, for heaven's sakes. Man, if she would have bought into that label, if she would have allowed that ant to crawl into her head, well, the world would be a different place, right? And she has a saying that when we focus on gratitude, when our thoughts are around things that we're grateful for, we find more things to be grateful for. Another ant that you might have is blaming others for your circumstances. Oh, when people don't take responsibility, man, they don't have just one ant. They have a lot of ants crawling around in their head because it's all negative. See, when you blame other people, like my dad said, Diana, you point your finger at somebody else, you have 3 fingers pointing back at you. Odds are 3-1, it's your own fault. Take responsibility. Well, those are some of the ants that can crawl into your head. You've allowed them to be there. You can also get rid of them. Just get that bug spray out and let's start thinking of liberating thoughts. See, you cannot control the first thought that comes into your mind, yet you can control the second thought you have in your mind. And what you focus on expands. So when we focus on the positive, well, more positive comes our way. Your thoughts carry you wherever you want to go. Weak thoughts don't have the energy to carry you very far. Think about that. Are your thoughts liberating you to get ahead, or are your thoughts limiting you? And the more you have those limiting thoughts, they turn into limiting beliefs. So watch the episode on limiting beliefs where I help you turn those limiting beliefs into liberating beliefs. You have a relationship with your thoughts. You are not the hostage to your thoughts. Even though right now you're living in a cage that you have created, those thoughts, well, they're the bars of the cage. And inside that cage is your comfort zone. And real living starts outside your comfort zone. And when you have thoughts that allow you to step outside of your cage, you are liberated. See, you are designed to be great. Yet we continually sabotage ourselves by thinking mediocre thoughts about who we are and the experiences that we encounter. Get rid of those negative thoughts. You are great. You deserve greatness. And I'm here to take a stand for your greatness. Change the impossible to I'm possible. And watch the Becoming More podcast every week. Be certain to hit the subscription button so we can send them to you every Tuesday. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you next week.
In your life, you deserve to be more, do more, have more, and give more. And now the Becoming More podcast with Dianna Kokoszka.